Welcome. Today, we're diving into Adam Grant's really revolutionary book, Give and Take, to unpack a powerful and honestly often overlooked ingredient to success. It's all about how we interact with each other.
You've heard the saying a million times, right? In a competitive, dog-eat-dog world, it kind of makes perfect sense. You've got to look out for number one. But what if that conventional wisdom is just plain wrong?
So let's kick things off with a story from Silicon Valley that seems to prove this exact point. We've got David Hornick, a venture capitalist, and Danny Shader, this blue-chip entrepreneur who's already hit the jackpot twice. Shader's pitching his new startup, and Hornick is one of the very first investors to hear about it.
Hornick absolutely loves the idea and makes an offer right away. But instead of playing hardball, giving Shader a tight deadline to pressure him, he does the complete opposite. He tells Shader, hey, take as much time as you need to make the right decision. He's being a total giver, putting the entrepreneur's best interests way ahead of his own.
And what happens? Well, Shader turns him down. He even talks to Hornick's references, and they all confirm he's a great guy. But that's the problem. Shader starts to worry that Hornick is just too nice, that he won't be tough enough to really challenge him in the boardroom. The nice guy, it seems, just finished last.
So this story perfectly sets up the three fundamental styles of interaction that Adam Grant identifies. And it's not just about being nice, it's about your default preference, your default setting for how you give and take.
So you have takers who always try to get more than they give. Then you've got givers who actually prefer to give more than they get. But most of us, we fall right in the middle as matchers. We operate on a principle of fairness, an eye for an eye, tit for tat. And while most of us are matchers, it's the givers and takers at the extremes who see the most dramatic outcomes.
And here is the fascinating paradox at the very heart of this book. When researchers look at performance across all different fields, engineering, medicine, sales, givers are overrepresented at the very bottom of the success ladder. They burn out, they get taken advantage of. But, and this is the really crucial part, givers are also overrepresented at the very top.
Okay, so that's the big question, isn't it? What separates the givers who soar to the top from the ones who just sink? Because understanding that difference, well, that's the key to everything. It all comes down to strategy and how they navigate a world full of takers and matchers.
To really get this, we first need to get good at spotting who's who. So we're going to contrast two archetypes: the flashy peacock, a taker who can fake being a giver, and the quiet panda, a genuine giver who builds success in a completely different way.
Our peacock is Ken Lay of Enron. And on the surface, man, he looked like a giver. He donated to charity, he talked about integrity, he was praised by politicians. But behind the scenes, he was building this massive network based purely on self-interest, using Enron's resources for his own personal gain. Takers often leak these little clues. They're charming and differential to their bosses, but they're controlling with their subordinates. That's the classic kiss up, kick down strategy. They use self-focused language, lots of I and me, not so much we and us. And they do this thing social scientists call lekking, these self-glorifying displays, kind of like a peacock showing off its feathers to signal dominance.
Now, what's really interesting is how these clues can appear right in plain sight. In Enron's 1997 annual report, 4 years before the whole thing collapsed, there's this full-page photo of Ken Lay. Studies showed this kind of visual self-praise is a huge red flag for a taker CEO. They see themselves as the sun in their company's solar system.
And in stark contrast, our panda is Adam Rifkin. He is a self-described shy, introverted computer nerd. Yet in 2011, Fortune magazine crunched the data and found he was the single best connected networker in America, beating out CEOs and billionaires. So how did a panda build one of the world's most powerful networks?
So how does a giver's approach to networking, especially in our hyper-connected world, actually lead them to the top? Well, takers burn bridges, but givers, they build them in a really unique and powerful way. The secret weapon for givers lies in this powerful concept: reactivating your dormant ties. These are the people you knew, but you've just kind of lost touch with. Research shows they are an incredible source of new information and help because they combine the trust of an old relationship with the new perspectives of a weak tie.
And this story just illustrates the giver's advantage perfectly.
Back in 1994, Adam Rifkin ran a Green Day fan site. A stranger named Graham Spencer emailed him and suggested he add links to more punk bands. Rifkin, being a giver, just did it, a small, no-strings-attached favor. 5 years later, that dormant tie, Spencer, turned out to be the co-founder of Excite, and he helped Rifkin get his own startup funded.
This long-term, totally unexpected payoff is exactly what happened to our venture capitalist David Hornick. After Shader initially rejected him, he just had this gnawing feeling. He ended up inviting Hornick to invest in the company anyway, and Hornick became one of his most trusted advisors and strongest references.
So here's the crucial point. By operating as a giver, Hornick built a reputation that led to this extraordinary success. While the industry average for signing deals is around 50%, Hornick's is 89%. His giver strategy wasn't a liability, it was his greatest asset. As one venture capitalist put it, it's a whole lot easier to win if everybody wants you to win.
Okay, so let's get practical. How does this all translate into a strategy that you can actually use? One that separates successful givers from doormats. It's not about being a martyr, it's about being smart with your giving.
Adam Rifkin, our panda, he lives by a super simple principle, the 5-minute favor. The idea is that you should be willing to do something that will take you 5 minutes or less for pretty much anyone. We're not talking about grand sacrificial gestures here. It's about consistently making these small contributions, an introduction, sharing some knowledge, offering quick feedback.
This approach is so low cost to you, but can be incredibly high value to someone else. It creates this ripple effect, building goodwill and opportunities all across your network. It's how givers sow these seeds that often come back to them in the most unexpected ways, just like they did for Rifkin and Hornick.
So I'll leave you with this thought. We started by asking if nice guys finish last. The evidence suggests that in the long run, they can actually finish first. It starts not with some zero-sum game of taking, but with a small 5-minute act of giving. And that might just be the most powerful and strategic thing you can do for your own success. So what's yours going to be?